Divine revelation, 3 miraculous signs you must see before 12 days or risk delayed healing. The village of Hawthorne was suffocating under an ominous cloud. Matthew, a cherished boy of 10, lay frail in his bed, battling the darkness of a life-threatening illness. His mother, Anne, a woman of unshakable faith, knew she had to act. One evening, she knelt in prayer at their little chapel, feeling the warm glow of candlelight wrap around her. Suddenly, a voice whispered through her heart, "Look for 3 signs within 12 days, or risk losing the healing." Her eyes flew open. This was no ordinary intuition, but a direct call from the heavens. Anne's spirit ignited with divine hope. She rushed to the village square, bursting with fervent energy. "We must join together in prayer," she declared, rallying the villagers. Hope mingled with desperation as they gathered, voices lifted in sacred song, hearts entwined in shared faith. Yet whispers of doubt fluttered among the crowd. "Is it possible for miracles to occur in our time?" they murmured, cautious eyes darting away. With trepidation brewing in her heart, Anne faced a growing rift at home. Her husband, Tom, a man rooted in practicality, struggled to balance logic with her soaring faith. "And," he began, frustration creeping into his tone, "what if—" But before he could finish, Anne felt a rush in her spirit, remembering the inspiring tales of St. Jude, the patron of lost causes. "Hold on to hope, my love. We are walking this journey together." As the days waned, her quest to uncover the first sign began. Then, just as despair threatened to seep in, a breathtaking sunset blossomed across the horizon, painting the sky into hues of amber and gold. The villagers glanced up in awe, their hearts momentarily lifted. "Look! It's a divine message!" Anne exclaimed, clasping her hands in joy. But not everyone shared her vision. Shadows danced across faces filled with uncertainty. "It's just a sunset," whispered one, dousing her flame of hope. And retreated to the chapel. As she knelt, pouring her heart out, she felt an electric presence, a warmth that filled the air, wrapping around her like a mother's embrace. "Guide me, dear Lord," she cried. But then doubt crept in again. Was this feeling true divine intervention, or just an emotional high? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Time ticked on, and with it, the weight of expectations from the village pressed heavily on Anne's shoulders. As the 12th day approached, she found herself in a moment of undeniable prayer, surrounded by flickering candlelight, the chapel buzzing with a tense silence that felt palpable. Just as the hours seemed the darkest, a sudden flash of brilliant light shimmered through the stained glass, illuminating the entire room. Gasps erupted, hands flew to mouths, and eyes glimmered with tears. Anne felt her heart race. This could be the sign she had longed for. But as the last remnants of the light faded, doubt hung thick in the air. What did this truly mean? And thus, the villagers stood together, their hearts brimming with awe yet filled with uncertainty about the revelation that had just passed, whispering amongst themselves, pondering if a miracle was on the horizon or if they were destined to face disillusionment. Anne's heart danced between hope and trepidation. Each moment felt heavy with unspoken words, as if the divine light had woven a thread of connection among all present. She looked around, her eyes meeting the villagers' faces, a mixture of longing and skepticism painted across their features. But deep down, she felt the conviction that something extraordinary was brewing. The following day dawned with a peculiar stillness. Shadows of doubt lingered, yet a gentle wind whispered through the trees, stirring Anne's spirit. "Today, we will seek the second sign," she breathed, her resolve igniting. Gathering the villagers once again, she led them through the fields that rippled in the sunlight, each step echoing her prayers. "Let us search for something that speaks of God's promise," she called out, her voice a soft melody against the backdrop of nature's chorus. The group wandered together, eyes scanning the earth beneath their feet and the vast blue skies above. And felt a sense of unity among them, and she craved for them to feel the beating of hope that thrummed in her heart. As they reached a small creek, its waters sparkled like diamonds. A sudden splash broke the stillness, capturing every gaze. A little girl, May, giggled as she waded in, her laughter contagious. Anne's spirit lifted. Children carry the faith of angels, she reflected. The villagers, momentarily hushed by the innocence before them, watched as May picked up a smooth stone, a subtle yet majestic sight framed by vibrant flowers. "Look!" May exclaimed, holding the stone aloft. "It has a heart." The stone, indeed, bore a natural heart shape, and nobody could deny the sweetness of such a serendipitous moment. The villagers exchanged glances, a few murmuring, "Perhaps this is a sign," and S' heart swelled. This simple stone was more than a rock, it was a tender reminder of love woven throughout creation. She knelt beside May, placing her hands over the girl's. "You are carrying a message, sweet one. Love and hope are always present." But amid the warmth of this moment, Tom's skepticism bubbled to the surface. "A child's game, Anne. It won't heal Matthew," he muttered, arms crossed defiantly. And felt a pang of frustration, but knew this was part of their journey. "Tom, sometimes faith speaks through the smallest things," she replied, her voice quivering with emotion. That night, loneliness racked her spirit. Kneeling by Matthew's bedside, she whispered prayers filled with earnest longing. "Dear Lord, speak to me," she pleaded, the candle casting flickering shadows that danced upon the walls like spirits of the past. Just then, Matthew stirred, weak but aware, and his eyes met Anne's. There was a hint of recognition, a light in the depths that shimmered like hope. "Mom, can I go to the creek tomorrow?" he whispered, his voice fragile. A thought sparked within Anne's heart. What if the child had seen something she had missed? Was this another sign? Just then, a comforting presence enveloped the room. She felt warmth suffuse her, a reminder that they were not alone in this struggle, yet, her heart raced as time ticked away. With only a day remaining to uncover the final sign, doubt clawed at her. Could their faith alone carry them through this darkness? Was it enough to awaken a miracle? Tomorrow would be a defining moment. As she closed her eyes in prayer, she felt the urgency of the hours closing in. Would this village, this family, see the third sign? What was God preparing to reveal? The air felt electric as faith swirled around her, and she succumbed to its powerful embrace, trusting in the profound mystery that lay ahead. Both hope and anxiety intertwined. Only God knew what awaited them on the morrow. The dawn broke softly over the village, painting the sky in tender hues of pink and gold. And stirred from her fitful sleep, the weight of expectation hanging heavily in the air. Today was not just another day, it carried the weight of prayer and longing. She rose with resolve, her heart beating with the rhythm of the divine promise. As she prepared breakfast, the kitchen hummed with a quiet energy. The scent of warm bread filled the space, wrapping her in a sense of comfort. She wanted more than anything to bring warmth to Matthew, to show him the light of hope. "Today, my boy, we will seek the final sign," she murmured to herself, a fervent prayer woven into her words. When she arrived at the creek, the villagers gathered, the atmosphere thick with curiosity and anticipation. May, brandishing her heartfelt stone, jabbered excitedly, a flurry of innocence amid the somber attitudes that lingered. And greeted them with a smile, but her eyes were drawn to the water, watching its flow with the intent of a seeker. "Listen," she whispered to the group. "The creek has a story to tell." The villagers fell silent, the murmurs mixing with the gentle rush of water. And stepped closer, her heart racing with the belief that the universe was silent, waiting for them to uncover a hidden truth. With the sun glistening on the surface, she knelt by the bank, tracing patterns in the sand. It was a moment of stillness, each second felt like an eternity of grace. "Look!" She pointed toward a shimmering ripple breaking the surface. A flick of color darted beneath the water. "What's that?" Tom asked, skepticism tinged with curiosity. A little boy inched closer, eyes wide, but his heart pounded for another reason. Moments ticked by as anticipation bubbled in the group. Then, a flash of brilliant blue leaped from the creek, catching the sunlight in a dazzling display before splashing back down. And gasped as she recognized it. "A kingfisher!" she exclaimed, awash with emotion. She could feel it. This was indeed another sign. A symbol of rebirth, shouted one villager, eyes gleaming. "They bring messages of transformation." The atmosphere shifted. Hearts stirred, and whispers of a miracle began to swirl among them. Hope awakened in the eyes of the villagers. Yet doubt still lingered at the back of Tom's mind. "What does it mean?" "A bird can't save Matthew," Tom said, a gentle firmness in her voice that drew his gaze. "It's not about the bird. It's about what it symbolizes. Renewal and change come when we least expect it. We must believe in the promises we cannot see." Before he could respond, an unusual sight took the villagers' breath away. The sky above darkened briefly, the sun cloaked in clouds, yet a single ray broke through, illuminating a patch of grass nearby. The warmth of divine presence radiated towards them, inviting reverence. The crowd gasped, taking a collective breath. Could this be the third sign? Someone whispered. And felt the hair on her arms stand upright. She glanced at Matthew, who stood beside her, uncertainty clouding his fragile eyes. With a newfound determination, she knelt down and pulled him close, whispering fervently, "This ray of light, my dear, is hope. Hold on to it." Yet beneath the rising hope, a shadow loomed. Would belief be enough? What if Matthew's time was running out? Answers remained elusive, and the stakes grew higher. A soft breeze rustled the leaves, echoing a call to the hearts gathered there. With each passing moment, and could sense the divine working. What would the day hold? As the villagers stood together, and looked around, their eyes reflecting glimmers of belief and uncertainty. "What do you seek today?" she posed into the air, inviting both their doubts and hopes. The answer, however, remained just beyond reach, clothed in the mystery of divine revelation. Could it be that tomorrow would bring forth the miracle they all yearned for? What lay ahead in the binding of their faith? All she knew was that the moment of divine intervention was drawing near. As the morning sun broke free from the grasp of the clouds, warmth flooded the gathering. And could sense the divine energy swirling around them, as if heaven itself hovered close, eager to witness their shared hopes. She took a deep breath, stirring her soul to embrace the power of the moment. A feeling of urgency washed over her, urging her forward. "Let us kneel by the creek," she suggested. The villagers echoed her with whispers of agreement. And watched as they settled down, some crossing their arms in quiet prayer, others clasping their hands together, palms pressed tight as though drawing strength from the heavens. The creek bubbled softly, the light dancing on its surface. Each ripple seemed to carry whispers, spiritual echoes urging them to listen. And felt a shift, the air thick with anticipation. Was this the moment for truth to be unveiled? Closing her eyes, she raised her head toward the heavens. "Lord, we come to you as vessels of faith. Open our hearts to the signs you have laid before us." The words poured out from her, raw and sincere, a beacon of hope thrust into the depths of uncertainty. Around her, the villagers began to softly chant, their voices intertwining like the light and water before them. With each prayer, hope grew strong as they fully surrendered their fears. May's innocent voice rose above the rest, "I believe. We believe." It was beautiful, a chorus of faith echoing into the open spaces around them, igniting the spirit of the gatherers. The kingfisher appeared again, streaking through the air with grace. "Look!" and pointed. A gasp of awe spread among the villagers. It swooped low over the water before landing gracefully upon a branch nearby, poised like a messenger sent from above. "It's a sign that we are seen, that we are heard." Anne's voice rang clear, and she felt a wave of energy ripple through the crowd. Her eyes sparkled with fervor, urging the others to catch the vision. Suddenly, a rustle interrupted them. A figure emerged from the trees, a wandering traveler, his robes flowing like the water at their feet, eyes gleaming with unearthly light. The villagers stiffened, and whispering broke out, heads tilting in curiosity and caution. "Fear not," the traveler spoke, his voice smooth and soothing, as if infused with the very essence of calm. "I come bearing a message." And felt her heart leap. Could he be the one to clarify their hopes, to unveil what lay hidden? The villagers quieted, their eyes locked onto the newcomer, each one finely tuned to grasp any wisdom he might share. "I have seen the bonds of your faith," he began, his gaze sweeping over the gathered crowd. "Your prayers are heard, and your signs are many. But the greatest sign lies not in the sky, but within your very souls. It is your unwavering belief that breathes life into hope." He gestured toward Matthew, his eyes alight with understanding. "This child's healing will come when the love surrounding him mirrors divine love. Only then will the promises unfold." And could feel warmth blossoming in her chest, an inexplicable surge of peace washing over her. The connections between them tangled stronger than before, knots of devotion knitting tightly together. As the traveler spoke, Anne's mind spun with the revelations. Divine intervention was not a distant event, it was already at work in their hearts, shaping their reality in ways they could not yet see. What could their unity forge? What depths of love lay undiscovered? "I must tell you," the traveler continued, his voice unwavering, "a trial remains. Your faith will be tested just as it was made whole. Only when you face your doubts, enduring together as one, will the divine manifest its power." His words hung heavy in the air, casting both anxiety and enlightenment. The villagers huddled together, sharing glances, their resolve strengthening within. "So, dear ones," the traveler concluded, "what will you do? Will you take the leap into unseen possibilities?" And swallowed hard. Fear and courage danced in her chest, coiling and twisting. She felt the burn of purpose igniting within her. Tomorrow awaited with its mysteries yet unveiled, but she knew one thing: hope was already taking root. And the time for a miracle was drawing closer. Would they be ready to embrace what would come, even as the shadows of doubt loomed over them? Or would they discover a deeper faith within the trial yet to unfold? The answers were just within reach. As the sun climbed higher, golden rays poured over the scene, stretching the shadows of the villagers along the soft earth. The traveler's presence settled like a warm blanket, wrapping them in a mixture of comfort and uncertainty. And felt her heart racing. Each word he spoke echoed within her spirit, reverberating against the walls of doubt that had formed over time. The creek continued its gentle murmuring, a reminder of the eternal current of divine wisdom flowing past them. The villagers, still kneeled, exchanged solemn looks, and she could see the reflections of resolve and confusion dance in their eyes. "Will we truly leap?" Anne whispered, half to herself. The thought hung in the air like a prayer mingling with the breeze. The traveler, seemingly attuned to her inner turmoil, stepped closer. His voice was a balm, smooth and reassuring. "To leap is to trust. Trust is the key that unlocks the door to miracles. Each of you carries within you the spark of divine love, and it is time to fan that flame." Deep within her, Anne felt a flicker of recognition. This spark, this love, was not just for Matthew, but for the community that gathered here, hearts aligned in purpose. "What must we do?" A voice broke from the gathered. It was Ruth, her brow furrowed with concern as she clutched her child close to her chest. "Embrace your trials," the traveler instructed, nodding wisely. "Each challenge you face is an invitation to deepen your faith. You must open your hearts and allow love to guide you through uncertainty." As the traveler spoke, and noticed the gentle hum of the villagers' faith swell around them. Each person seemed to radiate potential, a soft glow flickering like candlelight in the encroaching dusk of doubt. She felt herself drawn into their collective energy, a sacred bond forming through shared belief. "We will face whatever comes," she declared, her voice growing bold as she locked eyes with the traveler. "Together, as one." The eyes of the villagers lit up, an enthusiastic murmur rolling through their ranks. They held hands, forming a fragile yet powerful chain of unity. Hope spread like wildfire, igniting their spirits, and for a moment, the air seemed alive with possibility. The traveler smiled, almost knowingly. "Do you see?" he said, gesturing to the creek. "Hope is like this water, flowing freely and persistently. It nourishes the earth and brings life to the barren places." Then, taking a step back, he raised his arms in the direction of the sun, its rays peeking through the branches overhead. "Your first sign will come with the midday sun. Look for its warmth and know it carries the promise of healing." Anne's breath hitched at the thought. "The sun, it holds power," she murmured, almost lost in her own reverence. "Indeed," he confirmed. "But do not let your focus waver. Signs may come as whispers, seen only through eyes of faith. The second sign will manifest when the moon rises. Trust it will illuminate your path forward." An electric excitement buzzed through the crowd. What revelations awaited them? But within that thrill, shadows of concerns meandered, fluttering at the edges of their hope. "Remember," the traveler added, grounding them once more, "your faith shall be tested. Yet it is through those very trials that your strength grows. Each moment of doubt can be transformed into a testament of love." With that, he took a step backward, the light around him seeming to shimmer as he blended into the natural world surrounding them. And felt a pull in her heart, a mixture of longing and anxiety. Tomorrow would bring new encounters, fresh tests, and with it potential miracles, or even deeper struggles. As the villagers remained quiet, processing all they had just experienced, and summoned her voice once more, "Together, we shall rise and meet the dawn." Would they embrace the challenge and discover the miracles waiting in the shadows? Or would they falter and risk losing what the divine had set before them? The answers lay just beyond the horizon. The next morning broke with a fervor that was electric. The sun rose timidly, barely peeking over the distant hills, as if heralding the impending wonders. And stood at the edge of her small home, the crisp air filling her lungs with hope and uncertainty alike. She could see the faint silhouettes of her fellow villagers stirring, their faces reflecting the same anticipation that churned inside her. As she walked toward the creek, the water sparkled, mirroring the early light. It was a gentle reminder of the traveler's words. "Hope flows," she whispered, letting the sound carry her thoughts. Each step felt both freeing and heavy, her heart a drumbeat of belonging, yet burdened with the weight of tomorrow's promise. Gathering beside the creek, the villagers formed a semicircle, their faces eager for the warmth of the sun. Ruth stood with her child, eyes wide, radiating possibilities. "What if we see the signs?" she asked, half a question, half a prayer, and turned to her, warmth flooding her spirit. "We must believe they're coming. It's not just what we see, it's how we open our hearts to receive." "But what if we don't?" Ruth's eyes glistened. There it was, the doubt that snuck in like an uninvited guest. "Then we'll trust in the journey," Anne replied, determination swelling in her chest. "The very act of waiting can lead to revelation." Their words were broken by a shout from Matthew, who had arrived, breathless and bright-eyed. "Look! The sun is rising." Everyone turned, and a hush fell around them. The sun broke across the horizon, flooding the scene with golden light. It hit the creek just right, creating a dazzling dance of color, and for a moment, the world stretched around them, limitless, and closed her eyes briefly, feeling the warmth envelop her like an embrace. "This is our first sign," she murmured, a smile blooming on her lips. "The promise of healing is here." Instantly, murmurs filled the air, reverence flowering in their hearts. The sun had become more than a celestial body, it was hope incarnate. Eyeing the villagers, and felt an uplifting warmth as they absorbed this manifestation of light. "This light, it feels like love." Matthew, standing beside Anne, took a deep breath, tears welling in his eyes, declaring their affirmation, the villagers began to speak, each grateful sentiment uplifting the atmosphere. We are seen. We are cherished. We are united in faith. Yet, amidst their praise, and perceived a quiet stir of anxiety rumbling beneath the surface. A shadow of doubt flickered like a candle threatened by the wind. But the moon, what if it doesn't come? You worry too much. A voice echoed, laughter breaking from an older villager. His faith seemed unshakable, and admired his spirit. But she understood the lingering fears. Trials were not always clear, and every heart wrestled with its own burdens. Each sign was not merely a beacon of hope, but also a call to deeper trust and letting go. As the midday sun rose higher in the sky, the villagers began whispering about everything they hoped to see next. And could hear dreams overlapping: healing of long-held grievances, restoration of fractured relationships, and renewal of spirits weighed down by despair. They were reaching for miracles, but the air was thick with anticipation of struggle ahead. Yet, in that moment, a communal light shone brighter than individual fears. What comes next, beloved community? And S voice rang out, catching their attention. We will lean into the faith we've built together. They nodded, an understanding passing through them, a silent pact to support one another as they awaited the next sign, but little did they know that, come evening, the moon's rise would demand a test of faith far greater than any dream they cherished. What awaited them beneath the watchful gaze of the moon, and could they hold on to their faith as shadows danced around them? The answers, woven in the tapestry of the night sky, lay on the cusp of revelation. The sun climbed higher, casting gentle beams over the village, but shadows loomed larger as sunlight dimmed from their hearts. And watched the villagers disperse, each step marked by a mix of hope and unease. They were bound together in this quest, yet each bore personal battles, fears like whispered secrets waiting to emerge. As the day wore on, and found her way to the small chapel that stood proudly in the heart of their community. It was a simple structure, yet its stained glass windows caught the light, illuminating the sacred space in mesmerizing colors. She stepped inside, seeking solace among the worn pews that elongated like arms inviting her to rest. Kneeling, she closed her eyes, the atmosphere thick with prayers and dreams. Lord, give us strength, she murmured, her voice barely rising above a whisper, a plea folded with the wind. Show us your signs. Help us hold on to faith even as uncertainty swirls around us. Moments stretched, tangled in the silence. She felt the weight of prayer envelop her. A soft rustle broke through the stillness, a whisper that seemed to wrap around her heart. In that sanctuary, light poured through the windows and danced upon the walls. It felt like a warm embrace, awakening something deep within. Tears rolled softly down her cheeks, not from sadness but from the sheer beauty of that presence. Her heart stirred with a realization: waiting was not an absence of faith but an active spiritual engagement. Open hearts, she breathed with renewed conviction, and rose to her feet, the spirit of the community flowing through her like a river racing toward the ocean. As twilight approached, villagers gathered once more outside. The fading sunlight warmed their spirits, yet the air crackled with anxious anticipation. And joined them, noticing Ruth holding her child protectively close, her brow furrowed. What if the moon doesn't shine as we hope? Ruth asked, her voice trembling like leaves in the wind. We must look deeper, and replied, her eyes sparkling with the flames of belief. She turned to the others. What if the moon is simply the reflection of something greater? What if our understanding must expand? Matthew nodded vigorously, encouraged by her words. Yes, let us not dwell in fear. Let us embolden each other to trust in what lies ahead. A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. They stood together, linked by a quiet resolve. With each heartbeat, they molded a collective courage that gleamed as brightly as the stars gathering in the night sky. Then, as evening fell, the first signs began to appear in the deepening blue: a shimmering gleam on the water of the creek, a gentle rustle among the leaves, a caress of cool breeze on anxious skin. And felt her pulse quicken as she sensed the impending revelation. Look! Someone exclaimed, pointing toward the horizon. The moon peeked cautiously over the hills, a luminous sphere breaking free from its shroud of twilight. Gasps erupted among the villagers, all weaving through their hearts. And felt the divine pulse thrumming all around them. The moon had risen, bringing with it a promise of change. But then, in the edge of that divine moment, a shadow slipped across the surface of the creek, dark and unexpected. Whispers swept through the crowd, murmurs of worry. Was this an omen? Fear not. And shouted, raising her voice against the encroaching doubt. We have faced the light today, let us meet the night with hearts wide open. With those words surfacing like a beacon, the villagers took a step forward, eyes fixed on the moonlit path inviting them to embrace whatever came next. They felt the shift, unsure yet hopeful, ready to confront the signs and symbols that awaited them. As the moon grew fuller, promising deeper revelations, they wondered if they could trust what lay ahead. Would they accept the change, even in the face of uncertainty? Would they hold tightly to faith as shadows flitted around them, whispering doubts into their hearts? The night held mysteries yet untold, and the true test was only just beginning. The crowd stood in trembling anticipation, their gazes fixated on the moon now fully ascended in the night sky, casting a silvery glow over the village. Feelings of hope danced in the hearts of the villagers, but incensed the lingering worry nestled deep within some. Ruth still held her child close, her eyes darting between the moon and the darkened woods, as if searching for answers. A chill crept through the air, stirring unease that threatened to unravel the collective courage they had forged. And took a step forward, heart racing, and raised her hands toward the moonlight. Dear friends, let us breathe in this moment together. Feel the warmth of the light above. It's a gift for us all. With her invitation, the villagers gathered in closer, forming a tight circle. Their closeness brought an energy that pulsed through the very ground beneath their feet. As whispers of doubt faded, a hushed reverence enveloped them. Let us not just seek the signs, and continued, her voice taking on a rhythm that matched their anticipation. Let us acknowledge the miracle already within us. We are the light, illuminated by our faith in the one who guides us. As her words echoed within the circle, the moon shimmered, revealing an ethereal halo that twinkled like stars caught in a web across the night sky. The villagers gasped, hearts swelling as they beheld the abundance of light intermingling with their hopes. Just then, a flicker escaped in S periphery, something stirring among the trees. Leaning closer toward the source, she embraced that curiosity, beckoning the onlookers to do the same. What she had noticed was a soft glow flickering through the branches, a light not from the moon but from within the woods. Come, she urged, a thrill coursing through her veins. There's more to explore. With a mix of fear and excitement, the villagers followed as they ventured closer to that glowing mystery. The path was uneven, and shadows stretched around them like fingers reaching for the lost comfort of daybreak. Yet, every step they took felt emboldened by the sheer promise of divine engagement. Reaching the edge of the timberline, they found a clearing bathed in warm light. A soft voice floated toward them, carrying melodies that wrapped around their hearts. It was a girl, perhaps no more than 12, dancing among the fireflies that illuminated the night with a sparkling display. Each flicker seemed purposeful, as though choreographed by the very hands of creation itself. What is this? One villager whispered, captivated. This, and breathed, closing her eyes for a moment, this is the joy of unbroken faith. The villagers watched, mesmerized by the girl's innocent spirit, filled with unimaginable grace. But even as they were caught in that moment of wonder, the shadow lurking at the creek whispered louder now, creeping back into the edges of their minds. Would such pure joy withstand the trials that lay ahead? How do we hold on to this light? Another villager murmured, filled with both awe and fear. By stepping into our truth, and replied firmly, gaze fixed on the dancing girl. By believing together, carrying each other's burdens, and opening ourselves to the wonders of both light and darkness. Just then, the girl's dancing slowed, and she turned her gaze toward the villagers, eyes sparkling like the stars above. There are 3 signs, she announced, her voice ringing clear and bright. Seek them, and you will find your path revealed. A ripple of energy coursed through the crowd, and with and at the forefront, their resolve strengthened in that enchanting light. 3 signs. What could they be? Doubts shifted to determination, hearts rallied under the promise of revelation. As they stood in that magical clearing, the moonlight blended beautifully with the warmth enveloping them. They wondered how their journey would unfold and if they truly had the strength to embrace what was yet unknown. The questioning danced in the air, whispering promises of the 3 miraculous signs they must discover before the day's end. Will they uncover the truth that awaits them? What divine mysteries lie ahead, waiting to be unveiled? The night was far from over, and the dawn of understanding was only just beginning. The girl's gaze bore into each of them, her eyes ablaze with fervor. You will find the first sign by the roots of the ancient oak, she instructed, pointing into the depths of the woods. It is there you will learn to listen. A hush settled over the villagers. The stories of that oak were well known, as old as the village itself, its twisted branches touching the sky, cradling secrets of the past. This sign carried weight, an earnest call to reflect on stories that had been whispered through generations. Let us go. And urged, voice steadfast as a beacon in the dark. A sense of unity surged among them, every heart thumping with renewed intent. They followed the girl, who danced ahead, the light of the fireflies trailing around her like a constellation come to earth. Each step felt charged with purpose, a rhythm echoing the sacred pulse of life. Laughter escaped a few, mingled with gasps of awe as the shadows of the woods drew closer, enveloping them in an embrace both thrilling and foreboding. As they reached the ancient oak, its gnarled roots sprawled like welcoming arms. The air shifted, a whispering breeze playing upon their senses. Listen. The girl urged softly. The oak has stories to tell. And knelt by the roots, brushing her fingers over the rough bark. The villagers huddled close, their breath held in anticipation, each longing to hear the history of dreams, trials, and faith wrapped in layers of time. Suddenly, a fluttering sound caught their attention. A bright light illuminated the ground before them, what appeared to be a spirit, rising from the earth, swirling around the roots of the oak tree like smoke ascending to the heavens. It took a form, a figure capable of expression and intention. And met the gaze of the apparition, fear melting into wonder. What do you have for us? She breathed, her voice trembling with sacred curiosity. Strength rests in remembrance, the spirit proclaimed, voice echoing like distant thunder. Each story fuels your flame. Acknowledge what has been, and the path will stretch before you. Create by sharing, for your heart is the vessel. Speak your truth. As these words settled in their hearts, warmth enveloped them, igniting embers of hope. The villagers shared knowing glances, they felt a surge of clarity, this understanding, a shared treasure, compounding their faith. Yet still the question lingered like mist, thick and palpable. How would they harness this strength? How could they translate remembrance into action? Keep trusting, and encouraged, drawing the villagers' gazes back to her. If we share our stories, our burdens, we can uncover the second sign together. With a sense of urgency, they began to recount tales of their past, moments of victory intertwined with trials, laughter shared amid tears. Each testimony echoed, building a tapestry of their journey, and it resonated through the woods, an anthem of solidarity that harmonized with their hopes. As the last echoes of their collective voice faded into the night, an undercurrent of excitement rippled through the crowd. What would the second sign reveal? They could almost taste the anticipation. Yet as they felt hope blossoming anew, a sudden chill raced through the air, darkening the clearing as shadows shifted. The woods were still, the gentle rustle of leaves now seemed to carry warnings. A new urgency swept over them. What trials await us now? A villager gasped, clutching his heart. Search for the courage within. And called out, voice steady against the rising tension. Let love lead us into the arms of grace. As they prepared to delve deeper into the woods in search of their next sign, the girl's voice rang out once more. Remember. The moon's light guides you. Stay united, for the answers you seek await. With hearts beating as one, they stepped forward into the unknown, knowing their journey was only just beginning. What shadows lay ahead? What trials would test their faith? Unseen, yet ever present, the second sign stirred in the distance, waiting for them to uncover its truth. With the moon hanging high above, casting its silver light onto the earth, and led the villagers deeper into the woods. Fear and determination intertwined, propelling them through the dimly lit path. Each footfall seemed to echo, a rhythmic reminder of the strength they forged in unity. The girl from the clearing was there, walking ahead, her presence ethereal. "Listen closely," she urged, "the second sign lies within the heart of the woods. You must embrace the whispers of the trees." They gathered around, their breath warming the cool night air, yearning to receive whatever revelation awaited them. As they ventured further, the way ahead transformed. The trees thickened, gnarled limbs encroaching like guardians ready to reveal secrets. "What do we seek?" murmured one villager, voice trembling under the weight of uncertainty. "Courage." And S' voice rang clear. "Together, we seek courage to face our darkness and trust what lies ahead." The villagers nodded, hearts tethered tightly together, as reverberation of hope pulsed through them. At last, they arrived at a clearing illuminated by the moon's glow. It was enchanting, ethereal, the very air hummed with potential. Here the girl whispered, but her voice was swallowed by the forest. And then, as if on cue, a gust of wind swept through the clearing. The leaves rustled, swirling around them, and in that moment, a voice rose from the depths of the woods, a gentle yet towering presence that resonated within their spirits. "Embrace your shadows," the spirit proclaimed, each word dripping with wisdom. "Cast aside the doubts that weigh heavy upon your hearts. Only by acknowledging your fears can you set them free." And felt a tremor in her own heart, doubt flickering like a candle threatened by the wind. But what if facing them is too painful? She managed to utter, vulnerability painted across her features. "Pain is a path to healing," the spirit answered, "truth is born from trials, and in the darkness, you will find the light you seek." The villagers exchanged glances, understanding sparking in their eyes. "Together, we can face our fears," shouted one courageous soul, breaking the silence. "For every wound carries the seed of hope. Not just hope, faith," exclaimed Anne, her voice gathering strength. "Let us speak our fears, let our truths intertwine. We will rise stronger." Emboldened, villagers began sharing their burdens. Each spoken word, a testimony to the struggles they endured. "I fear the darkness that consumes," one revealed through teary eyes, "the thought of losing my child. I fear I won't ever be enough," another confessed, "that I lack the power to heal." With each story told, the atmosphere shifted, their fears transformed into sparks that ignited flames of courage. The air pulsed as their vulnerabilities danced open and raw, a testament to the interconnectedness of their journeys. Then the ground shimmered with light, illuminating the hearts that had reckoned with their darkness. A radiant figure materialized, arms wide like a mother embracing her children. "Your courage births the second sign," it declared, tranquility flooding the air. "Face the unseen with love, and you shall witness your healing." And felt warmth wash over her. "Together, we have turned our fears into faith." There were tears of joy, laughter, as they shared a sacred moment in the moonlit clearing, the luminous spirit enveloping them in grace, and so, they emerged renewed, bonded by their shared revelations, the shadows of doubt washed away like dust in the wind. But uncertainty lingered. What of the third sign? Compelled by hope, they gathered once again around the ancient oak, anchored in their faith. "Love is the beacon," and cried out, voice bright like the moon's glow. "Together, we have faced the dark, now let us trust where the next sign leads." Then, it happened. A sudden jolt of energy cut through the air, and the trees shivered. Every heart listened closely, sensing something divine. "Do not waver." The girl emerged once more, beckoning them forward. "The final sign awaits at the river's edge. There, the water will reveal your path." And like a current sweeping through their souls, a wave of purposes surged among them. They clasped hands, drawing together as they navigated through the shadows, guided by the flickering light of hope. With every step, faith blossomed fiercely, illuminating doubts, shadows echoing their resolve. What would they find at the river's edge? Answers awaited, ready to embrace those who dared to believe the night was alive with possibility, the air thick with sacred anticipation. Would they uncover the truth needed to transform both their lives and Matthew's spirit? Would the final sign signal not just a fleeting miracle, but everlasting change woven in the fabric of their faith?